So then the next question I was going to ask is, what are examples of food security initiatives in Brandon? So I'll ask that, but maybe a second follow-up question is, what is your vision of a food secure Brandon? What's happening now?
I have too many ideas.
Yes, well, what's happening now? And what do you think is feasible and change-making for Brandon insofar as food security initiatives go?
Okay, that's a big question. There's quite a bit happening in our little city of Brandon. We've had about 50,000 people, I believe, and we have quite a number of community gardens. That's the first thing people think of is community gardens, and we have a food bank and Helping Hands soup kitchen. But we also started some new projects this year. We have Everyone Eats, which is like a pay what you can, skip the dishes. And it's really great because we make sure that all the employees are paid a living wage, and all the payments are made by donations, so it's completely anonymous, so people can pick up or receive their food curbside, and no one knows who's paid what. So it's been a good kind of a cross between a social enterprise and charity model. And there's quite a bit of like community sharing with CD Saturday and Rooting for Local Food, which is a seedling sharing project where we have seeds grown by community members and organizations here in Brandon. So yeah, there's just so many different ways to approach food security, and there's quite a bit actually happening here in town.
Now, the food program, Everyone Eats.
Yeah.
How you said that that's kind of a social enterprise. Is it unique to Brandon? Is there such a program like this other places, or how did it come together?
Yeah, so that program was started here in Brandon as a response to the pandemic. We were hearing that people were losing their jobs, and everyone's situation has changed so drastically. And we just wanted to come up with another model so that people didn't have to like stand in line for the food bank and Helping Hands and all of those things, which are really wonderful food aid resources. But we know that many people that are food insecure don't actually use those resources because of the stigma attached. So we wanted to create a program that was really equitable and anonymous, and so that it felt good for people to access. So that was started here in Brandon with the Brandon Food Council and ACC and BU and John Howard Society.
Wow, I know my neighbors were saying that the food was just amazing. They went a few times and they just raved with the food.
Chef-inspired meals.
Yes.
We believe in good food.
So, what about the Brandon Food Council? Is it, are there kind of initiatives going on there, long-term, short-term? What's happening there?
Well, do you want to speak to that one?
Sure. What is happening at the Brandon Food Council? The Brandon Food Council is relatively new, so food security is new, food councils are relatively new, and here in Brandon, the Brandon Food Council is relatively new as well. One of the big things that we're working on right now, different areas of the Food Council, is trying to work toward having a food map of the city. So a tool, an online tool that supports urban ag initiatives across the city, whether that's growing in a plot, whether that's fruit gleaning, whether that's CD Saturdays. Giveaways. Couldn't remember if it was CD Saturday.
Sometimes it's Sunday, sometimes it's Saturday. You're right either way.
And just various other supports for people who are trying to grow their own food within the city. One of the things that the Food Council supported was the creation of a document called the Brandon Food Assessment. And this was created outside the Food Council, but it really informed a lot of the issues that the Food Council is working on right now. And one of the things that that report mentioned was that there's a huge interest in growing food in the city, but there's also a huge interest in taking classes to learn how to do that, but there isn't the piece in between linking people with the classes they want to attend or the garden plots that they'd like to grow food in. So the Food Council is trying to work on eliminating this information barrier, which is key to actually helping people use the resources that we have here in the city and connect people who need them or who just want to support urban agriculture with the actual initiatives going on. So it is kind of funny because some food security isn't actually kind of the food in the ground or the food on the plate type of thing. Sometimes it's just disseminating information, getting the information out there and letting people do what they want to do, just kind of letting them know when these things are happening. So that's one of the big things of the Food Council. What else is happening? There's so many things going on at the Food Council. We have a public event coming up this spring. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so on March 4th, we're hosting the Edible Branding event, and it's building on the urban agriculture theme to discuss food growing, food raising, food harvesting, food mapping, and community gardens here in Brandon. So just recognizing that urban agriculture actually involves a lot of different topics in this local foodscape. So we'll have some breakout rooms to discuss each of those topics, and we'll have some speakers to present on them. And we're looking forward to hearing about that. We've had quite a bit of mapping already done to date, like GIS mapping. And I'm really excited about that event.
The community events are the best. You know, people have such amazing stories. They have such amazing perspectives. They know what's happening locally. They can help us connect different things going on. They're just the most awesome events to hear what people are saying.
I find that people really enjoy the networking aspect of it and just sharing ideas. Like as people are working, they kind of have these ideas in the back of their mind. And when you share them, you can get some good feedback and build on that idea. And that's how Everyone Eats was started. Just some people that had a couple ideas, and you get the right people in the room, and all of a sudden you have an innovative project.
That's amazing, eh? Mm-hmm. Food, it's so practical. It's so important. Everyone needs it a few times a day. And, for something so fundamental, it's just as simple as getting together, talking, and we realize there's resources around. So that's really, really awesome. And it's a great example of how kind of better information, transfer, essentially better awareness, better accessibility is key to this kind of, to almost every aspect of food security, to letting people know that the status quo isn't what will get us forward, essentially.
Yeah, and it's really a whole community approach, right? It's taking care of each other and taking care of the earth, and working towards our ideal vision of food security for all.
That's so true. There's a lot more going on in Brandon as far as food security goes. What are some other initiatives going on, possibly in other cities or larger cities or just other places that are interesting to think about?
Do you have any off your top of your head?
Well, food, I guess I would say the food councils, which I mentioned before, they're kind of one of the bigger things that's happening, I guess, around the world now. Like I think there's food councils on different continents, Europe, Australia, throughout North America. And I think the organization, the coming together of people who are able to finally say, yes, this is a concern that I have, that I'm interested in. Those types of things are new, and they're happening around the world for the first time, so that's amazing. Other initiatives that are going on, you did mention Ryerson, Olivia, in the beginning of our discussion, and Ryerson has the most amazing rooftop garden. Are you aware of it?
I've been perusing their website, actually, yeah.
Yes. So and I don't know too much about it, but I think the initial goal was to have vegetables for the cafeteria and also to sell, whatever, to support the community essentially for however they'll use it. And I think it's kind of grown and evolved since then, both in size, scope, and how it kind of serves its community, and even outside the Ryerson community. There's been a lot of tours of that space and kind of teaching people how Ryerson is using what was a completely unproductive space, just the roof of a building, how they've kind of adapted that, and without requiring a ton of concrete building materials, etc. Just with garden boxes and some nice walkways and a strong organizational approach to maintaining the garden. So defining, who will support it, and having that kind of longer term understanding of, it's a living thing, who will kind of take care of it, how do we plan for this, etc. So that isn't really happening. Maybe we don't need a rooftop garden at here in Brandon, at least where we are, because we're just on the outskirts of the city here at the North Hill campus. We have the luxury of having our own kind of garden and grow plot area. And I think BU has some gardens as well, if I'm not mistaken, at least in the summertime. I don't know who runs them, but the campus gardening initiative is really something that seems to be growing a lot of steam. Sometimes to supply food to students, sometimes to supply food to the cafeteria, or there can even be, indigenous medicine gardens. So gardens that are more specific are kind of developing across campuses and greatly contributing, maybe to food security on the one hand, but also in the sense of medicine gardens to food sovereignty as well, to the preservation of the plants, to teaching people how they were used, to letting people appreciate them. So yeah, I think campus gardens and food security are probably one of the big trends that, again, if you just look at a garden when you're passing by, it might just look like, just a garden. But if you watch it over the long term and see how the community members engage with it, what the governance structures are that are used to support community gardens, it really is a fascinating reflection of how people identify food security issues and also adapt their responses to them based on locale and the people experiencing food insecurity. Yeah,
there's so many things that you can grow. Even even thinking about biodiversity
Mm.
and some of the interesting plants that newcomers can bring with them so that they can access food that was growing in their home countries.
Yes.
And just like, I really liked how you brought up medicine, because food is medicine.
Mm.
And so when we think about indigenous plants that were used as medicine, even the food that we nourish our bodies is medicine, and the water as well.
Mm.
And so it brings it back to this whole perspective of like bringing in the land and bringing everything together.
Mhm. Yes, it's it really is amazing. Again, to hear the stories that people share when food comes into the equation, the memories and kind of those bonds that form with people. We sometimes I think we forget that the first word is community garden when we're looking at community, and they really do that. They really form and support and develop new communities in larger communities too. So that's kind of a beauty of what you describe about how people come together around these issues.
And I think there's a lot of opportunity too with innovative food growing and the rooftop gardens like you had mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really interested to pursue that and to measure the impacts of that on hydro and the resources that you need and the infrastructure and how you put all of that together. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for innovative food growing.
Is food security, and this is not a question on here, is food security an issue that is particular to plants, or is meat and meat consumption part of food security? And if so, why did so much of our discussion tonight focus on the growing piece? And again, I don't know if there's specific answers for this, but I just thought I would throw it out there.
Yeah, I think it's just naturally where the conversation goes. But like how I was saying about urban agriculture, I included urban food raising in that as well. Because I think that is important to have chickens and eggs and to be able to raise some small animals for meat if a person chooses. But I think it really comes down to choice and nutrition and what's actually going to be good and medicine for each individual.
Absolutely.